It's Thursday morning, and as is my practice, I'll share some things that are on my mind. Today I'd like to talk about a short phrase that has captured my attention, and then the process of how I am working with, how I am living into or wondering about the phrase. On Tuesday morning, I read a larger piece, and out of that whole reading, one phrase absolutely intrigued me and still does. The phrase is simply this: intentional justice seeking as spiritual practice. Intentional justice seeking as spiritual practice. I'm not even sure how to apply that or what to do with it yet, but the phrase absolutely, or subtly, I guess more accurately, subtly jumped off the page and somehow attached itself to my mind and to my heart. Now, I've thought about intentional justice seeking as something maybe I should do, as something that is very important in our culture right now, be it Black Lives Matter or a close friend who is concerned for Native American justice, or for United States honoring and not only tolerating but honoring other faith traditions than Christian. So there's the ought part of it. There is the coming up alongside people because I want to be identify with their passion. But then this side, the intentional justice seeking as a spiritual practice. So that's what I've been pondering. And the way I've been handling it is interestingly different from the way I was before, the way I would have handled it before. First of all, my question is this accurate or not? Is this true or not? Should intentional justice seeking be a spiritual practice? Or is it properly? Or is this not very helpful? It's not questions of either or. The question is more, what in me, or who in me, or what small voice said, pay attention to this? What inside of me, or who inside of me said, this is something, Terry, you need to pay attention to? And I'm learning to honor that. If something leaps off the page, or if something out of an entire reading, just a short phrase says, attend to this, think about this. And in this case, there's a sense it's true. I know it's true, but I don't know why, I don't know how, I don't know where it comes from. It just, something in me says, this is true, and Terry, this is important for you to pay attention to. Then I think about a spiritual practice that I learned that probably affects how I'm handling this. A number of years ago, I was taught a spiritual practice called Lectio Divina. Lectio Divina is a way of approaching a text or a way of meditating. It really has 4 separate steps, and this is just from Wikipedia, a short explanation. First, you read a passage, then you meditate, then you pray, then contemplate. And the application, the way of applying this that I learned was you read a larger section of scripture or a meditation or whatever. You read a larger section and then you pay very close attention which phrase, or in reading scripture, what short phrase or verse really speaks to you in a special way. So you read the larger, you pick out a short phrase or a sentence or two, then you pray over it. Or in my case, so often with my meditation beads, I just repeat the phrase for each bead, or while I'm going through the whole string of beads, just think about that phrase or just repeat it over and over again. And that would be the prayer part. And then the contemplate, for me, I use the term ponder. just ponder it over the next days. So for me, it was reading that passage and then paying attention. What from this am I drawn to? And sometimes I read in the morning, I'll read a larger passage and nothing really leaps off the page. Nothing particular attaches, and that's fine too. But for this time, intentional justice seeking as spiritual practice. Not to know whether it's right or wrong, not to know exactly what to do with it yet, just saying, now this was Tuesday, and this morning is Thursday, and I'm still pondering over it. I'm still repeating it. I'm still wondering about it. It's something that's important, not because it's true or false or right or wrong or spoken by the right person or the wrong person, or does it fit in my tradition or not, simply because it's there. It's resonating, and in this situation, what's emerging in my mind is this is true, and this is important for me. And I'll do some research on it, see if there are things on the internet, or talk to some people and see if they can get underneath it a little bit better. But I suspect that this phrase is going to be important for maybe weeks to come. So I wonder, how do you become captivated by something? Is it something maybe you hear on TV, or a passage of scripture you read, and something? Is it okay for you to say, hey, it's just this phrase? I don't need to get the whole thing. I don't need to figure out who says it's right, who says it's wrong, or even whether it's true or false, or in or out, or part of our tradition, or part of somebody else's tradition, or up or down, or left or right, or whatever. It simply is living in me. And I wonder how powerful something like that can be. What lives in me? What resonates as true for me? What do I keep thinking about? So I just wonder, what are you thinking about? What phrase, what part of, maybe a speech or a message or a reading or something resonates? And that doesn't mean we suspend judgment and say, ooh, that resonates in me, and I have that from time to time too, where something resonates in me and says, and then I think through and say, wait a minute, that's a shadow side to me. That is not on the side of love. That is not on the side of, for me, seeking to follow Christ in the way of Jesus, or for somebody else to follow Christ in the way of Islam or atheism or whatever, following the all-knowing one, following the ground of all being. That doesn't resonate with what I hold to be true. Now, why does that one? This is not one of those categories that says, oh, intentional justice seeking a spiritual practice. That's from my shadow side. This feels and somehow enters my thinking as something that's helpful, positive, something that would be good for me and for those around me. So pay attention and maybe give yourself permission to say, just this one little thing for me, it's been 3-4 days of reading all kinds of stuff, studying different things, getting some lessons ready. This one phrase out of everything, the hundreds or thousands of words I've read, this one sticks out at me. Maybe it's time to pay attention and wonder about those things. What is spirit? What is our pre-knowing telling us? So that's what I'll be thinking about. Hope you have a rich, rich week. Thank you.